Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Award Travel 101 Live. I'm your founder, Richard Kerr, and it is Tuesday night. We're getting back in the swing of things here with a specific topic to enlighten, to encourage you, to educate you, to teach you, to help you travel the world for 95 to 99.9% off. We don't say free because there's taxes and fees like you're going to see tonight, but it's good to be back in the chair educating in my new office, which you can't tell because it looks exactly like my old office. Hey, a couple things of business like we do every single time. Put in the comments where you're tuning in from. I love to see the reach of Award Travel 101. You can ask questions anytime throughout the broadcast. I've got my moderator, Tony, working as hard as ever in the background. I get to stand in front of the camera and talk, and Tony has to work. So even if I don't catch your question when it pops up, she's going to make sure that I don't miss it at the end of the broadcast. What's going on in Award Travel 101 lately? I tell you what, we hit Chicago a couple times, in fact. So we had a great campaign with Shell. We continue to talk to companies that are intrigued by a community that exists solely in a Facebook group. They say, "What's your website?" I said, "I don't have a website. I have a Facebook group." And they go, "You have a what?" I said, "Look, it's a Facebook group. Everybody's vetted. It's amazing. It's awesome. You need to join." And they are joining all of the time. What are we talking about tonight? We are talking about finding award space to Europe. Yeah, how do you find 1 seat, 2 seat, 5, 6 seats? All kinds of strategies. There's a lot to show you tonight. I'm going to cover a lot of programs. Make sure you got your pen and your pencil ready. And as always, you can catch the replay of this anytime on the Award Travel 101 YouTube channel. Hey, with that, we're going to get right into it because there's just so much to talk about it. So I'm going to go into screen share tonight. At any time you have any problems, you just put it in the comments, and Tony's going to blow me up and buzz me and let me know that we're having some kind of issues. But I want everybody to see these things. So I'm going to take this logo off so that I can make sure that you can see everything that I can see. And it should be looking good just like that. That's the flying blue screen I have up, but I'm actually not going to start there. I'm going to start with the good old reliable United.com. This is what I recommend starting with. Why? Because United is part of the Star Alliance. There are all kinds of opportunities and availability here. There's a ton of Star Alliance airlines that fly transatlantic service every single day. It's just a really great place to start. So you have a couple options here. First is you can log in. What does that do? If you're a co-branded United card holder, you're going to have access to something called XN Fare Availability. These are additional coach award seats on United operated flights only. So if you want to fly United metal, when I say metal, I mean it is operated by a plane that is painted United, and you want to go in coach and you want extra availability, you need to log in. If you don't want to log in because you're looking at Star Alliance partners, at which point it doesn't matter whether you're logged in or not, then you can just start right here on the home screen. So I'm going to use a trip that I'm actually looking for routinely tonight. This is flying to Vienna, Austria for Emily, my wife, and I's 10-year anniversary coming up next summer. Is what we're going to look at. So the new United homepage is just book with miles. You can do it right here. You can do one-way departure. Here's one of the best tips I'm going to give you. Always search one way when you're doing your award travel. You can book it leg at a time. If you do round trips, some sites get a little bit wonky. It can get overwhelming. You need to focus on one leg at a time. When I say a leg, I mean the outbound or the inbound. So United is where I typically start if I'm looking. Let's go ahead and go over into business class because, hey, who doesn't want to fly business class? There's going to be two of us. I'm going to be looking for multiple people at different points through the night. And we're just going to go ahead and take a look at what shows up for us here. Now, some websites are fast, some websites are slow, but it always gets the job done if you use the websites that I'm going to talk to you about tonight in order to get over to Europe. A few things about the United website. If you're not familiar, this is going to make it easy. Hey, look, right here at the top, you've got a week worth of calendar view. You've got business first, or you've got economy, and then this little button down here is extremely handy where it expands it out to a 30-day calendar. Again, a little slow. This is helpful to give you a month's snapshot of what you're looking for. Now, United charges 70,000 miles if you fly a partner-operated flight. That is the saver availability. Everything we're talking about tonight is dealing with finding saver, i.e. the lowest amount of miles. If I fly a Star Alliance partner, like I see here in the top result, operated by Austrian Airlines, I know at the business saver level it's going to be 70,000 miles. Now, that's not a great price, but it's not a terrible price. The really great thing about United is this number I'm going to highlight right here. $5.60. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that is no fuel surcharges passed on by United for most award booking. Most airline, actually all airlines, you're just going to have to pay taxes and fees, which can be a little bit high depending on the country that you want to fly in. So here's a month snapshot. If I want to travel next June, 2 people, business class. Hey, look, we're not doing too bad. Actually, the first date I selected, because I cheated, but also because it's one day before my wife's and I's anniversary. We got the nonstop available on Austrian Airlines. Don't forget this handy little drop down right here, details button. It's going to tell you the flight number and the kind of equipment that operates that flight, which is very important for many airlines because you don't want to fly the old plane. You want to fly the new plane. Now, this is an Austrian 767-300. What would I do with that information? I would simply open it up another tab and Google that to see if that was the updated fleet for that airline and to see what those seats look like. Because when it comes to business class seats across the Atlantic, not all airlines are created equal. You want to get as much information as you possibly can when you're doing these award searches so that you end up with the best flight at the best price. Now, that's United. So what's something really cool I can do with this information? Most of you are probably familiar with United, and you say, hey, not bad, 70,000 I can transfer in from Ultimate Rewards. I can, I've got the United card. It's not too bad at all. But you know what? You don't have to pay 70,000 miles. And let's say with United specifically, I wanted to book within 21 days of departure. What happens when that gets going on with United? So you're going to see a dadgum pesky little fee of $75 per ticket when you try and book close in with United. It's absolutely ridiculous. Yes, I'm outraged. Yes, I agree. It costs United nothing extra to ticket you 21 days before departure, but you're going to pay that $75. So let's see if I can find availability close in here. And this is really handy. If you're not familiar with these little clicks on these websites, like how to save time, so you don't have to go and redo an entire search. Like if you don't know that I can leave that blank to do a one-way search on United, it's not going to error out. You got to get familiar with these kinds of things so that you can just work efficiently, because sometimes this takes a lot of time. Let's see if I can find a bit. Here we go. So leaving in just 9 days. Look, we got up to $80.60. Now that's per ticket. So if my wife and I are flying, I went from paying $11 to paying $160. That's kind of annoying. So what do we do to get around that? Let me introduce you to my little Star Alliance buddy from the country up north called Aeroplan. This is from Air Canada. Now you have to be logged in order to search for this. I just did that on my other monitor here, courtesy of Award Wallet. If you're not using Award Wallet and you're collecting points and miles, I have no idea what you're doing. You need to use Award Wallet because it automatically logs in for you, keeps track of all your accounts and numbers, and all of that good stuff. So we're going to take this result I just found right here. This is November the 14th from Newark to Vienna. That's 70,000 miles and $80.60 per person. And if Aeroplan here wakes up, there we go. All right, one way, EWR. That's another little annoying nuance about the Aeroplan site. Your city you type in doesn't show up first. It stays on Toronto. Don't know why. So we said the 14th. We said business class down here. I like to do my dates are flexible. Again, you got to get used to these websites. That is a handy little tab that I just clicked right there because it's going to show you an entire week's worth of availability instead of just the day you're searching for. Spend some time on these websites. So we're looking for Newark to Vienna. We want business class, and we don't want to pay $75. So here we go. Look at that exact same flight, 55,000 miles instead of 70,000. That's a pretty good discount. The problem, now that's great, and there's not going to be any close-in booking fee. Here's where you got to get kind of smart with Aeroplan. Look at that, $762. Oof, that's rough. So you're going, Richard, why did you just bring me over here to not pay a $75 close-in ticketing fee to pay 762 Canadian dollars? Well, Tony just put up A great link there, which I'm going to show you. There are not fuel surcharges on every single Aeroplan partner, i.e. Star Alliance partner. There are plenty of ways to get to Europe on Aeroplan without paying a close-in fee and without paying fuel surcharges. So this is a Million Mile Secret article. They have a great list right here. Look. Let's look at transatlantic operators. This is a list of people that Aeroplan does not charge fuel surcharges on. This was the Aeroplan calendar that I have going on. It shows you an entire week of availability at a time. Really actually handy. And then all kinds of actually great things you can do with Aeroplan. So it's a really awesome thing to know. So from there, I'm going to leave the Star Alliance and I'm going to go head over to Virgin Atlantic. Tony's saying that we're still having problems, so I'm going to take a quick break here and see what I can find out. This is the eCam software, which does not want to play for some reason. Everything looks like it's good to go on my end, so I'm going to get it over into the group. All right. So with that, we're going to go to Virgin Atlantic. So you say, why is Virgin Atlantic great? There are a few things you need to know about this program. First, it is really easy to get quite a few Virgin Atlantic miles because they transfer from everybody. And the second is you can book Delta operated flights here on the Virgin Atlantic website. Now, I've read a few articles about this, and it can get a little bit complicated, but what you need to know is that basically this website can be a little bit wonky, and you just need to spend some time getting to know it. So we'll start in Atlanta, and the first thing you're going to notice here, I'm looking, again, the goal of this is to find Delta-operated transatlantic flights using Virgin Atlantic miles because it's very cheap. If I try and type in a lot of cities here in the box, you're going to see like Rome doesn't pop up, Madrid doesn't pop up. It can be a little bit tricky. So there's a little triangle here in the search button and the search box. You can go then to country, and I can look for countries in Europe, and you can kind of force input the cities here. Now, not all cities are covered. You're going to have to call for some, but there's some, I don't know, like why only Dusseldorf and Hanover show when it comes to Germany here. But we're going to pick Atlanta to Dusseldorf because I know Delta flies that. Again, we're always looking one way, and we're going to go out, let's say, into next spring. They actually give you, just picking a random date here, within 5 weeks. Is what you want to do because you want to have 5 weeks of availability. And here's the first glitch besides inputting the city that comes up with Virgin Atlantic. The pay with miles button here is grayed out. It's not letting me select that. So we have to go back and kind of finagle with the website in order to get that to not be grayed out so that I can select pay with miles. Obviously, I'm not interested in paying revenue things. So I'm going to go back to one of the previous searches I did. If you get stuck this way, just keep doing searches until it shows up. It will eventually allow you to select it. I just picked another random date. Previous search I did, this is Detroit to Amsterdam in January on the 24th, we'll say 5 weeks, and it has this pay with miles already selected. This is just one of the oddities of this site. And we're going to see what shows. Now, this will show me Delta operated flights from Detroit to Amsterdam if there's any availability. If we got no results were available for your search, that just means there's nothing within a 5-week search day of that, which, hey, it happens. So, again, pay with miles grayed out. Welcome to the wonders that is working with Virgin Atlantic. We're going to go back to a site where it has, okay, look, pay with miles is now selected. I'm sure they're aware of this glitch, but this is just some of the things that happen. And now I'm good. I picked a random day in April, 5 weeks, one adult, and find my flights, and hopefully we can get some availability going on here. Yes, we've struck gold. So here we go. These are upper classes, as you can see in the top left, upper class, i.e. business. And 50,000 miles and $5.60, it looks like, on April the 2nd. This is from Detroit to Amsterdam in business class. And here we go. Quite a few options. You can notice different prices. Let me show you the first one. This is operated by Delta. This is an overnight flight. Business class on Delta, 50,000 miles and $5.60 is fantastic for that price, because they're going to want a whole lot more sky miles than that. You can click flight and cabin information. It'll tell you, hey, this is an A330. The reason I was actually searching this route earlier, Detroit to Amsterdam, is because of the A350 with the new Delta Suites flies on this route. If you notice the higher price, that's because it's a connecting itinerary. Virgin Atlantic charges you by segment. So if you're flying another segment, you're going to have to pay another 22,500 miles. That's why you really want to find those Delta nonstops across the Atlantic. So let's see if we can find something else besides that. Let's look. Atlanta, I think I had that Dusseldorf there earlier. So again, another example, you got to go force input by selecting country, Germany, Dusseldorf. Pay with miles, again, grayed out. I tell you what, the site just is not playing nice. Look, I put it in Charles de Gaulle and I can select it again. So this is Atlanta to Paris in February. Actually, sorry, April, because we got the backwards way that Europeans do things. And we're going to do a search again to see if we can find Atlanta to Paris in Delta business class. Sometimes availability is tough, sometimes it's open. It looks like only one day with a connecting itinerary, so I'm going to refine the search and go out further. This is one program, Virgin Atlantic, where it makes a lot of sense to book far out. There are more Delta seats available for whatever reason, and we don't know why, on which days, on which flights, what level, why Virgin Atlantic gets access to Delta space. But here's one date far out in the future of Atlanta to Paris for 50,000 miles on an overnight flight in Delta One. 777-200, which again they're supposed to be putting these new suites into, which looking forward to that. So something really great not to forget about. And again, if the city route that Delta flies is not on the Virgin Atlantic website, call up Virgin Atlantic, and there's some very helpful phone agents that will help you find the space. But it's just a great deal. If you're looking for economy, it's a different ball game here. You can find lots of economy space. Actually, let's do one search just for fun. I don't know. Let's see. Is Dublin in here? Dublin is in here. So Atlanta to Dublin, and advanced options. We're going to look for economy class within 5 weeks, and this will be. Let's kind of search next August, and let's see if we can find multiple seats. Let's say 3 people. Pay with miles, economy, Atlanta to Dublin next year. And yeah, plenty of, not plenty, but there are enough dates. So at the end of July, you can find dates with 3 seats for 30,000 miles. Again, if you're seeing the 42,500, that's because it's connecting itinerary, probably up to New York, and they charge you per segment. So find the nonstops when you can. And for 90,000 Virgin Atlantic miles and $16, you can fly this lovely Delta flight from Atlanta over to Dublin Island. Not a bad deal whatsoever. So Virgin Atlantic, don't forget about it. All right, let's go on from there. Let's pull up, believe it or not, Delta. And there's one reason I'm going to show you the reason I want to look at Delta. The entire point of looking at Virgin Atlantic is so that we wouldn't have to pay the number of sky miles that Delta wants for transatlantic Delta One. It's a much better deal to book with Virgin Atlantic. But when it comes to economy, if you want to book your family transatlantic and you don't care about business class, you need to look at Delta. There is just so many flights that have award seats for a lot of people. So Atlanta to Paris again. Let's look at the end of May. I got 6 passengers here. We want to make sure that miles is selected. And we'll take a look. So 6 people in the spring after school's over for a lot of people. You want to go transatlantic family vacation. You're thinking there's never going to be award availability. There might be a shot here with Delta. It's just they open up the seats. I'm telling you what, it doesn't matter what time of year. And yes, we got 37,000 miles per person, but there's 6 seats at 37,000. Not bad at all for transatlantic. Maybe we can go and find something cheaper if we go to the 5-week search function. Get familiar with these websites. Spend the time on there so that you know how to navigate your way around in the most efficient manner. So it looks like 37,000 is the cheapest, but there's a lot of days where you can get 6 people on the same flight for not very many SKY miles, actually competitive with every other program for an economy class seat transatlantic. Let's go up to 9 and see if we can still, and let's search, heck, I don't know, like, where do they fly from Seattle? I think they fly Seattle to London. So we'll look at 9 people in May, 5 weeks, to see what that looks like. Some of the websites a little bit slow. You're asking them to pull a lot of information from a lot of different places. So a good bottle of wine, a good glass of bourbon, and you can get these search results coming up before you know it, especially the more time you spend there with more bourbon or wine in hand. Holy smokes, look at that, 25,000 miles from Seattle to London. This is the nonstop, and there's room for 9 people on that flight, and it's a whole lot of days in the summer and peak travel season. So people who say Sky Miles are worthless, I don't want to hear it. Look how great this is, 25,000 miles a person. Get your whole family of 9 multi-generations on that same flight, and everybody fly to London from Seattle. What a great deal. That's why I showed Atlantic. So don't forget about that. All right, moving on from Delta. We're going to go to the SkyTeam partner, Flying Blue. Now, I'm here on the Flying Blue website, specifically the promo rewards. I've written a lot about the new Flying Blue program. It is quite illogical. You cannot make sense out of it, so don't always count on it to provide value. However, it has the potential to definitely provide you value, specifically on the promo awards. So the long haul promo awards, this is for travel from 31 December of this year until 27 February of next year. 50% off flights from Seattle to Europe. So you can book that. I was logged in earlier, and it looks like the flight search result I found is still up. You'll see Seattle to Paris, January, staying for a week, Paris back to Seattle, and that is 29,000 miles round trip to Europe. That is an insane price. That is round trip. That's not a mistake. Yeah, $238 is a bit of a bummer. However, you're paying 29,000 miles for round trip, and this isn't a WOW or a Norwegian, or you got to worry about getting stuck somewhere for 2 days, or you don't have to make a stopover in Iceland on Iceland Air. This is mainline carrier who's going to take care of you in case of irregular operations. I'm pretty sure you got a check bag included on this award ticket, and you can get Flying Blue miles from absolutely anywhere. Citi, Amex, Ultimate Rewards, the new Flying Blue Bank of America card, transfer in from Marriott. You get your whole daggone family on the Flying Blue promo awards from the U.S. over to Europe. There are other promo fares right now that are not 50%, but they are 25%. All you got to do is flyingblue.us, and you just pull up all of the different promo awards, and it goes, short and medium haul, and then it goes all the way up to long haul. And you can just see what pops up. They change it every quarter. So Chicago and Boston are 25% off. So you're going to pay about $37,000 round trip to go to Europe. Absolutely silly stuff there. Okay, I'm going to get a little bit more advanced in order to end this up tonight. I'm sorry we had that break. We're going to splice these together, and you can watch the replay of the whole thing tomorrow on the YouTube channel. But we're going to go to AA.com and pull up the good old reliable Advantage miles. Now, this program, it's got sore spots for all of us, but, you can, from time to time, you can find availability over to Europe, redeeming your miles. And let's just take a quick gander at what they're going to be showing. From Dallas over to Paris next this coming winter, the end of winter in February. Remember, it's so easy to get around Europe either via low-cost carriers or via train that you just need to find one place to go. Get over the ocean in the flight that makes sense, and then explore Europe. You don't have to fly exactly to the city that you want to go to. So this is off-peak pricing. So 22,500, and if you go to full calendar availability, look, every single day has saver availability. This is improving, but again, it is February and the beginning of March. Let's take a look at business. Wow, quite a bit of business saver. So everybody's headache here is, yep, you guessed it. Let's see how many of these are non-stop. Well, there's none there and none there. So what does that mean? This means this is probably most likely, at least in business class, going to be British Airways, and that's going to be really expensive taxes and fees. However, all of these non-stop in economy is going to be American, which is not a bad deal. Looking at all the options here, so don't forget about that. 45,000 miles round trip, minimal surcharges as long as it is American operated. And then you just need to go here to the flights and make sure, yes, it is indeed American and not British Airways operated. So I should be sitting pretty good, $11.20, something like that, in order to fly the flight. So here's something you need to consider when it is not off-peak pricing. If you go to redeem Etihad miles on American, you're going to put up the good old partner chart for American Airlines with Etihad Guest. If you're not familiar with Etihad Guest, you can transfer Citi Thank You Points or Amex membership rewards over to Etihad Guest, and you can book American flights for less miles than American charges its own Advantage members. So where did this see? Here's good old American. The miles you're going to redeem, we're going to click our little chart here. I'm going to copy this link over and have Tony put it in the comments so that you can find it later, and we'll put it in the YouTube comments. But here's the chart. So from North America over to Europe, you're going to pay 20,000 miles per person when it's off peak. And what did we just see with American? We saw 22,500. Etihad charges 20,000. Now if you go up into peak, I think American wants either 32,500 or 35,000 each way, and Etihad charges less. We know Saver Business is 57,500 per person. You can pay only 50,000 Etihad for that exact same flight, assuming that you find Saver availability with American, and save yourself 7,500 miles per person each way. Etihad charges less Etihad miles to fly American than American charges American miles to fly their own flight. So it's possibly going to be a better deal to use Etihad in order to book American rather than using your American miles, depending on how many transferable points that you have. But it's typically easier to earn transferable points than American miles, so something to keep in the back of your mind. And by the way, this applies to all the zones here on this chart, not just American. So do not forget about that. So sticking on the Etihad kick a little bit, I'm going to pull up Expert Flyer. A lot of people have asked for demonstrations. I actually had a guide published today, for beginner's guide to Expert Flyer, and we're going to do a little search here. So another great deal for transatlantic award space using our good old Etihad miles is this guy right here, or this gal. I guess an airline could be a gal. Is Brussels Airlines. Miles you redeem. If you're not familiar with this webpage, by the way, go get familiar with this. Go study all these award charts. They're insane. I think a high school intern wrote them. They don't make any sense, and you need to take advantage of them. So this is all the routes. Yes, American award chart was a chart. This is just a listing of every single route Brussels Airlines flies. And right here towards the bottom, you're going to see Brussels Airlines JFK, 27,000 economy, 44,000 business. Now that's one way, but that's still a really good flipping deal for business class at 44,000 miles and 27,000 miles. So how do you find availability? Here's what you don't want to do. You don't want to call up an Etihad agent and say, hey, I want you to find me Brussels Airlines space from JFK to Brussels on this date, because they probably won't even know that Brussels Airlines is a partner, and they probably won't even know how to find it because Brussels Airlines has a weird IATA code. Sierra November is the 2-letter code that designates Brussels Airlines. So we're going to use Expert Flyer in order to do that. So how do I do that? You need to have, in my opinion, a premium account with Expert Flyer, which was announced today to be underneath the TPG umbrella. So congrats to the Expert Flyer guys and gals for getting that job done. We're going to do a quick search of JFK over to Brussels. All I did was click the awards and upgrades here on the left. In Brussels, you make sure you pick Brussels, Belgium. And we're going to go pick next week. We like to do last minute getaways. So I'm like 3 days plus or minus from the date I select. And then on the airline, I go down to
Brussels Airlines. Again, Sierra November. This is why a lot of agents can't find this airline. They're looking for something that starts with a B, and they see a flight number that's SN, and it just weirds them out. And you need to do their homework for them. I selected Business and Economy Awards, and all I have to do now is hit the search button. So we're looking at a week at a time. We're looking for 2 fare classes. Expert Flyer has to go and ping whoever holds this information for them. So sometimes it can take just a few minutes to pull this. But once you have this information, once you find availability, it's so easy to call Etihad after you transfer 44,000 Amex points or Citi points into your Etihad account and say, hey, I found Brussels Airlines flight, blah, 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 with, whatever fare class it is here that we're going to see. And then they book it up for you, and that's it. That's all there is to it. It's really great, and then you're flying, by all accounts, a really great transatlantic flight into Brussels. So you see the kind of data crunching Expert Flyer has to do. I can tell you after just a few short phone calls with these folks, there's quite a bit of information that they hold. But here we go. So we're looking at the first option, no connections, nonstop, SN, that's Brussels IATA code, flight 502, no stops, JFK to Brussels. It's an Airbus A330-300. Business availability, no. Economy award, yes. X fare. So really valuable information here in the last column on the right. You can call Etihad and book this flight for 27,000 miles one way to fly transatlantic from JFK to Brussels, but you can't do it in business. Now, if you want to look at the other dates around it, you just tab up here. We're looking for business. Nothing there, nothing on the nonstop, which probably doesn't operate that day. And look, here we go, business award space. This is on November 12th, so if anybody wants a last minute getaway in 6 days for 44,000 Etihad miles, you can call up and book Brussels Airlines flight 502 business. Yes, has space right there, and hop transatlantic for just 44,000 miles in Brussels Airlines. Really cool stuff. You need to know how to use these tools. You need to learn how to use these programs. And that is really just a quick sampling of some of the tools I use in order to go through these programs and with these websites. You can see I'm going fast. We've been talking for 30 minutes here. And there's just still so many other things that you can do, so many other airlines and routes to look at in Expert Flyer that don't show up on websites, that you don't want to rely on airline agents to find for you. But it's just incredibly helpful stuff. So we're going to splice the first half of this video together before we have the technical problems and this one. We're going to put it on the YouTube channel so you can take additional notes and see all the buttons that I clicked on the different websites. But we started with United. We found Star Alliance Space. We then took that over to Aeroplane, which does not charge close-in booking fees or fuel surcharges on certain airlines. Then we moved over to Virgin Atlantic to find really cheap Delta One and economy tickets over the Atlantic using Virgin Atlantic miles. We then looked at Delta and easily found 9 seats on one flight for only 25,000 miles per person from Seattle to London. If you want to fly your entire family transatlantic, go use Delta Sky Miles. You're going to find award seats for low prices in economy. We then looked at Flying Blue Promo Awards, 29,000 miles round trip from Seattle to Charles de Gaulle. That's insane. And then American Miles, 45,000 off peak, not a bad deal. Just make sure they're not BA operated by clicking that little non-stop button. And then we looked at Etihad Miles to book those American flights for even cheaper. And we looked at Expert Flyer to find Brussels Airlines space bookable with Etihad Miles. So we kind of went from beginner all the way to pretty advanced stuff right there. And there are still some other gems out there, which, we're not going to widely broadcast. But if you're a member of Award Travel 101 and you see the conversations I regularly have, I talk about them all fairly often. So with that, I really appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. This is going to be a regular thing going forward. Every Tuesday night, you can count on it live, as long as I'm not out of town like I am next week, so I shouldn't have said that. But going forward, on other nights, we'll make announcements in the group. If you have questions anytime, throw it up, submit a post on Award Travel 101, comment on this video on our YouTube channel, and I hope you learned a few things, got the brain turning to find that award space to go transatlantic. Catch you next time. Tony, thanks for moderating. Team works really hard. We'll see you soon.